We want to sketch the graph of each of the following. So in part A, we have y is equal to 3x, x minus 1, x minus 3. Now the first thing to think about is expanding out the x's. We'd get a positive x cubed multiplied by the 3, so the leading term would be 3x cubed. The coefficient is positive, and that tells us that the graph will go this way. We can see that the x-intercepts are at 0, 1, and 3. Think about the y-intercept, that's when x is equal to 0. So because x is 0 here, that makes the whole thing 0. So it actually intercepts at the origin, because it's 0, 0 here. And we know the actual shape, so we can go ahead and do a sketch now. So we just need some axes for our sketch. X-axis, y-axis. Intercept 0, and remember that's a y-intercept as well because it's at the origin. 1 and 3, and we know the overall shape of the curve, so that's going to come up like this, have a maximum somewhere in this gap, minimum somewhere in this gap, and go off up here. Should always label it. So 3x, x minus 1, x minus 3, and we know this was the origin, 1 and 3. Now in part B, we have y equals negative x plus 4, x plus 1, x minus 1. Think about expanding the x's out. We'd get x cubed, then times this negative would give us negative x cubed. So the coefficient of the leading term is negative here, which tells us that overall the graph is going to be this shape. We can see the x-intercepts are at negative 4, 0. In fact, we don't need to give coordinates. Let's just say that's negative 4. And then the next one is at negative 1, and the next one is at 1. And the y-intercepts, that's when x is equal to 0. That's going to be negative 4 times 1 times negative 1. So overall that's going to give me 4. So we can sketch that. So x and y. So we've got negative 4, negative 1, 1, and 4 here. And we know the shape. So it must come down, take a minimum in here, come up, it's going to take its maximum around here somewhere, and then come down like so. So this one is negative x plus 4, x plus 1, x take 1, and this is at negative 4, negative 1, let's tidy that up there, so like that, and 1. Oh, and don't forget the y, that was 4. So in part C we have y is equal to x squared, x minus 2. If we expand out we get 1x cubed, so that tells us the shape is like this. So if we think about the x-intercepts, so clearly there's going to be a double root at 0, so that one's going to be a double, and that means there'll be a turning point there, and 2. And our y-intercept is going to be also at the origin, just when x is 0. So we know that's going to happen at the origin. So x and y, we know that we've got an intercept here and an intercept here, and we know this one's a turning point, so it must be this turning point here. So it's going to come up, it's going to have its turning point there, then it will have a minimum point somewhere in the gap here, and then come back up like so. So this was at 0, this was at 2. This is y is x squared x minus 2, and that's it. So in part D we have y is equal to negative 2 x minus 2 cubed. Now a cube bracket here must mean we have a point of inflection. That's going to happen when it touches the axis at x equals 2. If we expanded this bracket, x cubed would be positive times by the negative 2. That means it's going to come like this, and we're going to have a point of inflection in here. So as we've discussed, our x-intercept, we've only got one here, is at 2, and that's where there's a horizontal point of inflection. And the y-intercept, when x is 0, we'd have negative 2 times negative 2 cubed, which is negative 2 times negative 8, which is positive 16. So x-axis, y-axis, we know there's going to be an intercept here, there'll be an intercept up here, and we know the shape. It's going to come down, it's going to go flat here, we're going to have a point of inflection, and then it's going to come downwards like so, and this happens at 2, and this happens at 16, and this isn't the best drawing in the world, but at least it does have the basic shape and the intercepts on it. So this is y is negative 2 x minus 2 cubed, and I'd probably label the fact that we have a point of inflection here, since my drawing's really not that good.